she's a coward. She is being fake, but she's actually being right fake. What is he in there for? What is his quality? Well, he's finally come out of his shell like a snail.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Big Brother's Big Body Language. I'm Adam Miller, TV editor at Metro, and I am of course joined by BB icon and body language royalty, Judy James. We're taking a look at the action inside the house and decide if the housemates are telling us one thing, but their body language is saying something else. Now, when I say it's been a week, it's actually just been a mad couple of days. I feel like I'm watching a completely different Big Brother to the Big Brother that we were talking about last week. What you've made of the last few days?
Adam, I mean, this is what Big Brother's so good at. They'll change the mood. You know, just when people start to feel it's a fun house, they make it absolutely. I mean, it was Halloween, but it was scary. But I do have to say, I mean, I'm fuming over the past couple of days because how many weeks? 2 weeks now, I've been saying to you, I don't want any of them to leave. I like them all, don't evict any of them. Today, get a skip, pull it up outside the house, fill it up. I mean, literally, Tom, Olivia, Paul, Dylan, maybe Jenkin if I'm still in a bad mood about them all. But I really I couldn't even be bothered about the Jenga effect, about, no, if you take them out, you miss out on some of the thrills and the arguments. And I am absolutely terrified in terms of Trish and Noki when it comes to the vote. Everybody's saying it's not going to be them, and in Big Brother terms that means often it will be. You get contrary voting.
More than any other show, Big Brother is the most unpredictable show when it comes to voting, I think. So
yes,
do vote. Everyone do vote, because you really don't know. But anyway, we are going to take a look first at the really uncomfortable scenes from last night. Let's take a look.
So what we've learned from tonight is Chanel is a traitor.
Chanel has been
iced out.
Chanel!
Hello?
Yeah.
Come here.
Hang on. What's wrong? Are you going to call me over something stupid?
No. January, come here.
Right, let me just explain this. I come over. Yeah, so...
When it comes over, what are we going to do?
Ice her out. All together. How do you do it? How do you do it?
iced out.
Iced out, all at the same time.
Yeah, but we got to do it at the same time,
I
right?
think we should all go like this.
Oi. 1, 2, 3. Iced out.
Well, building up to that moment, and then obviously a lot happened afterwards. It was like hyenas on a pack. It was really extraordinary. I mean, obviously everyone kind of compared it to kind of playground bullying, but what did you see there?
I mean, this is, you say hyenas. There was a book, Lord of the Flies, a famous book, where school children all reverted back to animal behaviour. I mean, in fact, worse than that, when they were left on a desert island. And in a way, we were seeing something as horrible as that. This was horrible playground behaviour that probably even children wouldn't do in this day and age. So for adults to be doing it, it wasn't just aimed at Chanel, it was aimed at Yunran as well. So what they were doing, and this kind of builds from that venting task, and I'll talk about that a bit later. People were made to reveal where they go under pressure and under attack. And Yunran and Chanel are the two least aggressive housemates in there. So that's who they picked on. And they were having a really good conversation. And then suddenly the mean gang up the end of the room decided that they would, it wasn't just picking on Chanel, but they called her over. And in terms of the body language, we got this frightening ritual of slapping the biceps and then doing cutting the throat gestures, which is clearly what that means. It wasn't even fun. And then we got this kind of bringing Chanel over. You're not, and I think the thing that really, really got me, and I'm going to use the word Tom with a sneer all the way through this, but Tom, who has done very little, if anything, all the way through so far. I've been saying every week, what is he in there for? What is his quality? Well, he's finally come out of his shell like a snail, because what he was yelling out was the worst thing you can inflict on anybody in a very intense and small, intimate group like that. He was yelling out, "We won't speak to Chanel all day tomorrow." That's passive aggressive body language. It can destroy people emotionally. It's horrible when you get people, the pack don't speak to somebody. It was mean to one of their group. She's done nothing against them. And that's just because she was speaking to, Yunron isn't even completely in the other group. Sorry, I will calm down and stop ranting, but I do have to say it one more time. Tom, really, no.
I mean, you're summing up how we're all feeling, I think. That's the thing.
Yeah, and Jenkin was there again. Jenkin, another character that's really let us down in there. He's not been the character that they thought he was going to be, and all he's doing now is showing his nasty side. Really, he was also instigating that. It was just group meanness, and all I would say about Jenkin is that when Chanel came and spoke to him, and it did show an opportunity to show a bit of strength from her. But he did back down and he said, "No, I love you, love you." No, that's not, you don't do that to people you love. So I thought that was the meanest scene that I've seen in there.
For a while, I thought actually when Jenkin apologised as well, because he turned and walked, and I felt like, I'm not sure we could see actually, but it felt like he was kind of looking at the others a bit, kind of like, "Oh, what have I done?" sort of thing. And really disappointing. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Chanel responds to that, I think. And it escalated because then obviously Paul carried on and got into Noki's bed, and it was a kind of just like, we're just going to let rip on anyone and everyone, apart from who rewarded. So it's setting the tone for the rest of the series, I think, isn't it?
I think it is. The only thing I would say about Big Brother is that what they normally do under these, because a fight night's great, but they don't like that to continue. So I reckon they will be having a playful task that will hopefully make people laugh and join in and break those groups down a little bit. But the rot has set in, you're absolutely right. And it's very unpleasant. Even Paul yelling out, "Nobody's going to sleep tonight." Even that, I was thinking about that with Kerry. Who remembers Kerry? She went, they've not said a word, have they? But Kerry, she's got MS. She's lying in bed at night trying to sleep, which is probably important for her health. And they're keeping her awake. Mean. Yeah.
Really quite extraordinary scenes, wasn't it? And yeah, like you just mentioned, we had another fight night. It's kind of unbelievable to think that was only 2 days ago. But let's take a look.
Have you seen yourself lately?
What have I done?
And it's funny how you've just been acting up since you've been nominated.
Guys, what do you mean?
Guys! Where was all of this before? Where was all of this before?
She's talking She's a pussy.
Chill out. What's going to happen?
Happens now.
What's going to happen, bad boy?
Next time you're up, see if the public,
What's
now
gonna
they know
happen,
what's
bad boy?
gone off.
So are you threatening me on behalf of
It's
the
the
public?
fucking British public
So
that
are you
needs the
threatening
public,
me on
not
behalf of
me.
the public?
It's your problem
So
now.
are you suddenly you have no self-awareness?
Listen to you
What
now.
I do?
This is you.
What I do?
This is
What
you.
I do? You're a pretender. We
You
see
just
you.
showed everybody you're
We
a pretender.
see you. You're a liar and you're embarrassed. This is the second time you've been nominated, you prick.
I'm not embarrassed.
Shut
I'm
up.
happy that the public
Shut
said me
up,
twice.
man. Shut up. You're full of
I don't need
You're
to
full
shut
of
I don't want
I
to shut
hope
up.
that's enough of my chest
don't wanna
you've heard.
talk.
You're full of
I don't want to.
You're full of and you're a pretender. Fake bad boy.
Right. So, this was the closest we've got to the legendary fight night, I think, in Big Brother that I can remember. Like it was so uncomfortable and so impassioned. Obviously, Dylan and Trish, even they've had this kind of struggle from the beginning, but it really exploded there. Let's just start with those two. Like, what could you see between that kind of singular clash there?
This was, and we've said it in the past, these are two alphas that they've kind of been banging heads for several days now. And in a way, it was a test to see, almost to the death. Not the proper death, but just in terms of who's going to back down, who's going to lose their temper, etc. And it was actually, Adam, worse than that original fight night years ago, because the one years ago, it was almost like they were the irresponsible housemates that were doing it. It wasn't these parental figures, which we're seeing now. These are people in a way that should know better. They weren't, Olivia is an agitator and they were nearly all agitators, but when you see somebody like Dylan, who has been presenting as the sort of dad of the house, and Trish, who's got so much warmth there as well. But they literally banged heads. And what we saw was in this alpha fight, neither of them would back down. And that is rare. It told everybody a lot. It actually will have probably changed the fate of a lot of them in there in terms of nominations and things like that. Trish wouldn't only not back down, she was coming forward as well, and she destroyed him verbally. You know, when he said, I won't swear, obviously, but a something head, he said, you know, and you were talking to me like a something head, and she said, well, you acted like it, and you could just see from his face that was game, set, and match. So absolutely fascinating, terrifying for the other housemates, because this is a big boys fight. As opposed to just children sort of showing off. And it wasn't nice to watch, but in a way I think it was necessary.
It was interesting to see how the other housemates responded as well. I think actually there was a few people where their interaction was actually quite telling. Let's just have a look at people you might have missed actually because of like in the gym. Let's start with Jenkin, because Jenkin actually did kind of intervene at a point.
Yeah, I must admit, and I've been through it all very slowly, because for me the fascination is in their body language rather than the two people actually fighting. Jenkin was the only one that got up and physically tried to intervene. He got between them. He was trying to not actually push them apart, but he was gesticulating like that. And I thought, well, you know, you've sat there for 2-3 weeks now and done nothing, but that actually looked like an act of bravery. I have to remember though that he is a barman, so he might be actually used to dealing with a lot of that stuff at closing time. But even he, after he tried to intervene like that, he did back down. But at that moment, I was thinking, yay, Jenkin, because he was the only one doing that. And, you know, if he deserves a bit of applause, I will give it to him for that moment.
And then also, I mean, because normally with fights like that, it's quite difficult for everyone not to get involved. But like you say, I think it was just too big for everyone. But Olivia, who is such a fiery character and was actually involved in the nominations, really took a step back. I thought that was interesting.
If it takes that to shut her up, I mean, let's have one every night, you know, because she did. I thought she'd be in there yelling and shouting. And this is what's fascinating about psychology and the way people react, how they present during most of the transactions. When they get put under pressure like that, a lot of them go in a completely different direction. She did. We know that she's still storing up in her head, and her way will probably be to get acts of revenge that will probably go on a lot longer. And in fact, we've seen a lot of those starting out now. But no, absolutely, she just disappeared into the hedge at that point, and I did find that fascinating. I think she probably didn't want to take sides particularly out loud, but Paul did appear, and he was fascinating as well, because Paul, I see this all the time in the middle of a football match. When there's a fight between two players, you get the ones on the guy's team, and he was showing that he was very much on Dylan's team, but he was standing behind massaging his shoulders like, calm down, mate, calm down. I've got your back, I've got your back. It was pathetic. It was really weedy and pathetic. And he did, right at the end, come and stand between them when it began to look bad. But this kind of massaging the shoulders, it's like, that also... The thing that annoys me about that was how that would have affected Dylan, because Dylan has got an excuse, and it's like, oh, Paul was holding me back, you know, that's why I backed down. So yeah, I'm getting angry again.
But yeah, but just so much was going on in that scene.
I know.
I think we had to watch it a few times.
And the one to look for is Jordan. He was literally hiding behind the sofa. I had to laugh when I saw him. He was like little face peeking out.
Bless him. Well, obviously, that all started from Noki and Trish's Flash nomination. And not to say that either of them were at fault, but Noki didn't help herself or the situation even before this kicked off. Let's take a look.
Surely the biggest fear for any housemate is eviction, which is what you all face right now.
The manager.
What?
No.
I mean, honestly, like I said, just to stress, none of that happened afterwards is Noki or Trisha's fault. But it was like an audition for a horror movie, but it definitely didn't do yourself or all the tension that was going to come afterwards any favors.
No, and Noki was put in a very difficult situation there because if the game had been blown, she didn't know, maybe somebody else would have got evicted. They had to keep this mask up, but she did go for a slightly overacting role, didn't she? You know, when they said it, because she obviously knew that was going to happen. I think she might have just toned it down a little bit. Just a raise of the eyebrows probably would have done, but what? Oh no. And the problem she's then got, Noki's already been accused by the others of acting. All the way through now. I don't trust her, she's masking, she's acting, her tears aren't real, etc. So by having to literally act that out, I think she's probably confirmed everything that the others have been thinking about her. And as you say, it wasn't her fault. And it's not her fault anyway. I do have to stand up for Noki. I can imagine she's kept her composure in there. But I know what she's doing. She's been a beauty queen. She's also a business leader. Now, I train business leaders. They are trained, quite rightly, to be assertive. And that is always a fake response. It's where you think, no, this is my objective. This is what has to happen. And what's the best behaviour to reach that objective? So you suppress your emotions because you don't want to set off, trigger it in other people. It's the right behaviour in business. She's doing it here. She's being rational. She's speaking out. She's being very confident. But in a house now, and it will have got worse now, where they're all running around behaving like I don't know what, and their emotions and their anger and everything, it doesn't sit well with the rest of them. So she is being fake, but she's actually being right fake in business. It's not working in there, sadly. Yeah, sorry.
Do you think there's moments where you've seen when she's not putting on that pretense?
Not really, no. I don't think I have. I may have. Yeah, she always looks great. She's always sitting beautifully. The thing I can't quite work out is when she's in the diary room and every now, she seems to speak almost in a permanent state if she's about to cry. And it may be getting to her because that's the other problem. When you keep that self-control, it does begin to eat away at you inwardly. I mean, I don't know how she's sustained it for that length of time. I think she probably will keep it until she's out, even if that's the end as well. And as I say, I will be rooting for her because I know why she's doing it. I know it's the right thing to do. But in there, and actually, I think, sadly, with the voters as well, it could have created her own Achilles heel, and it may not be making her popular, which would be a real shame.
It would be a real shame. But I think it's like you say, I don't feel like I've seen who I think is the real Noki yet, because I don't know if she's ever going to present that to us or in the house.
No, and it maybe that is what she's always like, and we do have to give her that one. I mean, I would like to think that at times when she goes home from work, she just sits there eating baked beans straight out the tin, and she can be very playful as well. I mean, she's trying really hard to join in with everybody. I mean, she was even playing around in the bedroom, throwing pillows and things one night. But to retain that elegance, it probably would get her okay on Love Island, but maybe not in this house where it's got very basic in there.
When Paul got in her bed, actually, as well, she it was like an uncomfortable smirk and a laugh rather than being like, get out of my bed. I know what you're doing. It was a bit more, it was still trying to be playful, wasn't it?
No, because what she's thinking is if she makes a direct enemy of Paul, there's going to be more of that, and that will be on. Can you imagine finding Paul in your bed? This is a guy that has been doing smelly things and everything. That's the last, well, not perhaps the ultimate last character, but you wouldn't want to get in that bed, especially somebody elegant like her. He's self-professed somebody that just keeps farting and things like that. So, yeah, I felt really sorry for her, but that control, she doesn't want it to escalate. That's the problem.
Right, but next we're going to have a look at Olivia, who had a really strange outburst with Yinrun earlier this week. Let's take a look.
Right, guys, I'm sorry, I can't watch this. Philip, just put the TV going like that, right? I'll show you how we can do this much easier.
Olivia, I've finished. You can go. Carry on.
What? No, I'm just...
Oh, shall I soak some?
Yeah, so literally, run the hot water
Sorry.
and just let them sit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a nicer way of saying that when Yinrun's just trying to help and watch.
I get that.
She's a bit of a conundrum to me, Olivia. But this moment, it was really interesting. It was such a strange circle that happened in quite a short space of time, really. Let's just start with the initial confrontation there. What did you kind of make of that?
Well, it was like a rerun of their first confrontation that they'd had at the scene, which I thought Olivia had learnt from. When she shouted at Yinrun, I think that was almost on the first day or something. You should stop apologising, and really aggressively towards this wonderful, mild-mannered girl that everybody loves. Woman that everybody loves in there. And then I thought that she'd maybe learnt her lesson. I actually thought last week, actually Olivia's not that bad. She's entertaining. She'd lost a load of those habits, but bang, she's gone in there again. Same scenario, turning around. Obviously, she got annoyed about something else, but turns around, picks on you, who is washing her own plates up. I mean, how harmless could you get? But there's some weird excuse about, it's making the other plate. And she goes and just rants at you. And who she's picking on is the people, and particularly the person that she sees as being weak and stupid. I think that's how she views Yinrun, and therefore she's a coward, because she just goes in knowing that nothing's going to come back at her. Yinrun is probably the only housemate that won't turn around and give back as good as she gets, and she's trading on it. The worst thing for me, though, Adam, and it should be a lesson to everybody in relationships everywhere, was her apology. When she sort of came out, and her apology made it worse, because what she did was, she then, sorry, I'm so mad at this, she told off Yinrun for, she told her off for allowing her to shout at her. It was victim blaming. It was your fault. You let me shout at you. Don't let me do that again. Horrible, horrible playing with people's minds. I thought that was... So she would have got Yinrun apologising for allowing her to shout at her. Mean.
If you turned the volume off on that clip and you saw the apology, because it was very much like it's like her having a go at her, you would think that she would rough again, wouldn't you? Like,
yeah. And in Olivia's logic, it was Yinrun's fault because you let me do that. It's just... That line is a horror, and it's a horrible line to use. And I'm afraid from that one, Olivia went back down again for me. I think maybe getting angry a bit and a bit of bad mood, even then it wouldn't be forgivable to then take it out on Yinrun. But to go back with that, that's really mean. That's playing with people's mind. And Yinrun is very intelligent. She doesn't realise it yet.
And very powerful. She's actually very, silently influential in that house, isn't she?
Absolutely. So... And the minute they realise that, she's going to be up for eviction, unfortunately. But, I mean, Yinrun in Fight Night, where was she? She was going around comforting people. I mean, she was sitting, stroking people. She wasn't going around like Matty going, oh, my God. She was very calm and nurturing and everything. So I almost don't want them to realise how influential she is, because they'll go on her.
I don't know. I think they're all kind of too involved in themselves a bit. I think I don't even know if they will.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, finally, we're gonna look at the unrequited love, basically, that I think has just broken everyone's heart this week between Henry and Jordan. Let's take a look.
They will never see. Oh, they won't.
Henry.
What?
Oh. It's almost platonic, Henry.
It is platonic.
I love Plato.
Well, my husband cheating on me.
Oh, off. Give it a rest.
That's all right.
Now, we actually kind of predicted this before, didn't we? But it's just those two moments. I can see. I've been a Henry. I'm sure lots of people have been a Henry when you've liked a friend and you thought there's something there and there's nothing back. But I think we saw in those moments the way that they both responded to that kiss under the table, I actually thought was quite interesting. Henry
Yeah.
seemed to believe in it a lot more.
Yeah, yeah. I think with Jordan, Matty, and Henry, they should leave everything unsaid, because the minute they do start to investigate their relationships, it begins to turn very sour indeed. And I think it was very sad watching Henry. Obviously, he needs to, but beginning to open up to Trish, how he really feels. I was existing on this relationship, hoping that Henry wasn't actually that lovelorn about Jordan, and that maybe Jordan had deeper feelings than he was letting on, which he might still do. But unfortunately, Jordan this week did overplay his hand, because I think he realised that Henry was getting a bit hurt. He then did sit down with Henry, and he sat and, oh no, and he started to say, no, I really don't fancy Matty. There's nothing there. He started to use overkill precision gestures. He started to use eye contact, which he never does use. And I think Henry's not stupid. He sat there and he thought, why are you using such overkill? Suddenly, you're speaking concisely, forensically, using these gestures. I think you're protesting too much. I think that was the moment that Henry and I probably thought, no, the flirty side that you're seeing is actually the more genuine side. I think Jordan would be quite happy just to stay in there, not touching the sides at all, just a bit flirty with both of them. And in a way, in a good way, kind of, being affectionate with Henry. But he's actually said he doesn't find... I'm not sure that I believe it when he said he doesn't find him attractive. I'm still going to cling to hope.
Have you seen any signs that you would say do suggest that he's likes Henry a bit more than he's letting on?
Can you imagine everybody now is leaning forward? Please tell us that he does fancy Henry. Please. Yes, he clearly finds him devastatingly attractive. All I would say is my evidence that he probably does. He needs Henry more than Henry needs him. Henry's stability for him, his affection for him. We saw Jordan behind the sofa when things hit the fan. He wants that love. He wants unrequited love. So it's a vital relationship for him. What I don't think he would kiss him 5 times if he didn't find him attractive. And the other thing with Jordan, I prefer him when he's protesting about something. I tend to believe the opposite. So the more he says he doesn't fancy Henry, the more I think he possibly does. Does that help everybody or anybody? I want to believe it as well. I sit there and literally I'm going, yay, no. And he's confusing the entire nation right now. But nobody wants Henry to get hurt. But the only thing I would say is that if Henry does get hurt, he could win.
I do. I think I wouldn't rule Henry out now. I think.
No. I mean, and Henry. Sorry, I got my finger out. Henry. That moment when Yimron was being told off, who was it that went flying over like Superman? He was the one that got stuck in and told Olivia, "You don't have to speak to people like that." Yay, Henry!
And he did that really well as well. I think really well.
I didn't see his feet working. He must have gone like a moonwalk. He just sort of glided over there and popped up.
Anyway, we're all still Team Henry and Jordan. And yeah, maybe this time next week we'll be saying it'll be a completely different story. So that's
of course it will.
Anyway, so join us next Thursday when, again, we'll probably be talking about a completely different Big Brother than we did this week for another episode of Big Brother's Big Body Language. Thank you, Judy, and thank you for watching.